NBC10 First Alert Weather Update.
I'm First Alert Meteorologist Brittney Shipp. We do have a tornado warning for parts of our area. If you live in Berks County, it is time for you to take cover. So we are tracking this. This tornado warning is going to be staying in effect until 11 p.m. So everyone that's in this polygon, again, now is the time to act. So I'm going to walk out of the way here so we can show you a closer look at the areas that are now affected. We're going to call off a few neighborhoods here so you can basically get yourself in place. If you're closer to South Heidelberg, if you're near Reading, Maiden Creek, you are under this tornado warning again for the next, I'd say, about 30 minutes. So we also have First Alert meteorologist Krystal Klei. She is also tracking the velocity on this. She's going to take a closer look at what you need to do in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So we are calling off these neighborhoods here, and that again includes North Heidelberg, South Heidelberg, Maiden Creek, and also Reading.
Yeah, so can we get Max 2 up in the control room? What you're seeing here is that tornado warning. It's right on the edge of Berks County. It extends throughout Berks County, all the way right to the edge of Reading. So what we're watching is it's going to take this track that moves right through the county. Now what's happening is we had some moisture coming in from the west. We had that line that's been slowly sinking along as well from the north. So you see, if you're in North Heidelberg to South Heidelberg, along 222 all the way to Reading, you need to get to your basement. If you do not have a basement, that's okay. A central room, a bathroom, a small closet, anything where you've got 4 walls, no windows if possible. In a situation like this, a window can blow out and that can end up being glass or debris getting inside your house. So you want to stay away from those. So let's go back to our radar view here and just take a look at the storm itself. So there's the storm we're watching. You can see there's a good deal of lightning with it, and it's very heavy rain as well. It's nighttime. You're not going to be able to see this storm. Don't try to go peek and take a look at it. This is the time for you to act. Now, it should be noted that the radar beam that's taking the picture of what we're seeing right now is pretty far away from this storm. That means it's shooting high up into the clouds. There is a chance that the rotation in the clouds has not made it to the ground. But there's a tornado warning for us to prepare for the possibility that even if it's not on the ground and it drops to the ground, you're already in your safe space and you are safe. And remember, only 1 week ago, we had 7 tornadoes that touched the ground. So this is not an area where we just say, oh, we don't get tornadoes here. This is the possibility that we're seeing right along this leading edge. Now, radar that we get fed into us can be a minute or 2 delayed. So it's likely already starting to move into South Heidelberg at this point. That's why we have that tornado warning in place. And Brittney, when is the tornado warning in place for? How long?
It's in effect until 11 p.m. and
Okay,
it's
so
tracking to the east at 35 miles per hour.
So we've already got that 35-mile-per-hour tracker in place, and we're trying to, I'm moving the radar a little bit here. I think that this green to red is where they're looking at the rotation, so it's right on Womelsdorf right now. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But it's going to be moving along, as mentioned, at 35 miles per hour to roughly the east, moving along here. So let's go back to that polygon. And this velocity product that we have, remember, that's our way of looking at winds. If you see red and green coupled together, those are spinning winds, and that's rotation up in the clouds. The concern is that rotation can drop a tornado down to the ground. So that's why you want to get into your safe spot while you're under this warning. And we see our neighborhoods from Maiden Creek to Reading, all the way down to Angelica, and then all the way over to South Heidelberg, all under this warning right now. Let's pop up our hail product for a second, see if we've got any hail with this system. Not seeing hail tracks, so that's a good sign because that means it's not a terribly potent storm that we're dealing with likely here. But we do have lightning with it, and that lightning is going to move along with this system as we track that storm moving through. And if we go back to radar, there's that leading edge. So that little kind of notch that we see here between North and South Heidelberg is likely what we're watching out for as this continues to track along to the east under this tornado warning. Let's kind of reset for a second and give you a little bit of a wider view of what's going on. Much of the area right now is quiet. So if you're in Philadelphia, if you're in South Jersey or Delaware, areas where we saw those tornado warnings a week ago, nothing for you yet. Not to say that something couldn't happen, but nothing for you right now. This is all happening in our northernmost neighborhoods. You see where there's a severe thunderstorm warning. That's the orange box. The green box is a flash flood warning. And then we also have that tornado warning as well. So let's zoom back into those areas that are under the warnings. There's the flash flood warning. That includes Allentown. It's in place through 1:45 in the morning that we are under that flash flood warning. Then we also have our severe thunderstorm warning. That actually encapsulates a little bit more of Berks County than the tornado warning itself. But take a look. That includes Burnville all the way out to about the county line in Berks. And then, of course, it includes the area that's under the tornado warning. So that hot pink zone that you see and that little kind of hook that we're looking at right here, that's the area we're watching out for. So if you're in Redding, you are in this polygon or that box where there could be a tornado moving through, you have time right now. Get to your safe place. That's the basement. It's your central room. It's somewhere away from windows, but you have time. You have time to get down there right now, get your family together. Don't start collecting everything. Maybe not time for that, but go to your basement, get away from your TV, crank the audio up if you need to, or put it on your phone. We'll be having information available on our phone as well. You can look at our live radar to get those details. So there's the system we're watching. And Brittney, did you want to come back in and track out some stuff?
I think right now too, we want to go to some of the instructions that we have during these tornado warnings. And you were mentioning it, but we have seen a lot of tornadoes recently within our region. So the first thing you need to do is get to your basement. If you do not have a basement, you want to get to the lowest level in your home. So again, this is a breaking weather situation. This is specifically for parts of Berks County here. If you live closer to Redding, Maiden Creek, South Heidelberg, you are all under this tornado warning until 11 p.m. So that means we'll basically be with you here until 11 o'clock. If we can switch over to our weather computer 1, and then that way I can track a few things. So the big picture is the fact that a good part of the area is under this severe thunderstorm watch. And then we also have the flash flood warning. But what we're going to be focusing on right now is the tornado warning. And oftentimes the National Weather Service extends the polygon out. So we're going to focus mainly on this area right here. This is probably where the tornado and the rotation is, and then it's going to continue to track to the east. Now, the one good thing is there's not a lot of populated cities once we put this tracker on, so the only thing that comes up at 1044 is Kokusing. And so as we continue to track this here, if you live closer to Bern, you are still within this tornado warning. And again, that's going to stay in effect until 11 p.m. So this extends basically all the way out to areas like Hyde Villa, Bern, Kokusing, South Heidelberg. You are still in this tornado warning. Same thing for Montello. So as we, again, widen out the pictures to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here, it is a strong line of thunderstorms. And within this thunderstorm cell, we are seeing this tornado warning. So the cell is capable of producing a tornado. This is all, again, tracking here to the east, moving at 35 miles per hour, and the areas that are still included in this polygon list means you have time to move, and that would be Maiden Creek. That would also be places like Redding, South Heidelberg, and it looks like, Krystal, looks like they might have extended this, or maybe there's a second tornado warning that is now developing here. So let's go ahead and get a closer look. We'll widen the picture out so we can once again reset here, but they are definitely continuing this tornado warning.
Yeah, but they just continued the tornado warning. It's through 11.
Through 11.
The latest update is it is located right near Fairview Heights, 7 miles northwest of Redding, still moving at 35.
Yeah, so oftentimes that's what the National Weather Service does. If they do not believe that the cell is strong enough, they will let the tornado warning expire. But right now what we're seeing is this is continuing. So you can see, let's pause this here. We just want to show you, we'll clear that out the way. We'll pause this and show you it is what's happening here just to the north of South Heidelberg that we're most concerned about. You still have time. Like I said, this is moving to the east at 35 miles per hour. So if you're closer to Redding, you have a little bit of time to take cover, head to the basement. If you know anyone that works late and is traveling on 222 or 61, you want to give them a call and say there is severe weather. You want to make sure you're being careful while you're driving. Hopefully they can pull over to a safe space. But again, places like Whitfield, Bern, Redding, Maiden Creek, you're still all under this tornado warning until 11 p.m. So until we see that this cell has passed through or it's weakened, you still want to make sure that you are, number one, going to the lowest level in your home or going to a basement. So let's go ahead and put this in motion here. We're going to also switch you over to our velocity mode. And what velocity mode tends to do for us is it shows us rotating winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere too. And so what we're going to see here is as we look at this tracking to the east, we look for the red and the green coupling, and it's really kind of hard to see. Sometimes we have a clear indication. We don't have as much of a clear indication right now, but we do see that there's some rotation. We start to see the green and we start to see the red here. So as it tracks to the east, 35 miles per hour, We know that there's some rotating winds that could also be damaging. Krystal.
Yeah, so Brittney, I just want to point out the velocity that you have up. I just swapped for a different radar beam. We were talking about this earlier. The radar beam that's closest to us, that's over in Mount Holly. It's so far away from the area. That's why it's a little harder to see and discern what's going on. So I just changed over to the State College radar beam, and now you're getting a better view of what's up. So let's switch can we go back over to Max 2 actually, and we'll continue to track this. But again, so the issue in this area, unfortunately, we've talked about this before on air, Berks County is relatively far away from where our radar sites are. There's one out in State College, there's one in Mount Holly, New Jersey. So remember, it starts at the ground and then it shoots up into the sky. So the farther you are away, the farther of a picture we're getting when it comes to both our radar and our velocity products. So we do see this kind of mix of red and green, and when you see those together, it can indicate rotation in a system. But this is probably pretty high in the sky, and it's a little wide, meaning it's not a perfect little red and green bright together. Now, hopefully that's a good sign. Hopefully that indicates it's not to the ground, but we have to treat it like there is something on the ground, which is why we have this tornado warning that's right between North Heidelberg and South Heidelberg. And let's see if we can get our touch screen up and just zoom in a little bit closer here to take a closer look at what's going on. And I'm going to switch over just to our alerts layer so it's not too distracting for us as we look at this. So let's continue to try to zoom in and get a few more names of towns that may be under this warning. So the good news is we're zooming pretty tightly. There's not a lot of towns in this area, but Wernersville, you are on this tornado warning, and this is relatively close to you at this point. So make sure you are in your safe place. We've been going through, that's your most central room, down into the bottom floor of your house, as long as you don't have, say, any water or any issues in that bottom floor. There's not a flash flood warning in this area, so that's a good sign. As we continue to go off to the east, Sinking Springs, Kakusing, and Burn, you are under this warning. The system not to you yet, but it will be quickly, so you got to make sure you are also in your safe place. And as we continue to track to the east, Muhlenberg, Wyomissing, Shillington, and then Reading. These are the areas where you need to be into your safe zone while this tornado warning is in place. It's 10:38. That means we've still got another 22 minutes with this warning, unless it's expired early by the National Weather Service. But we're going to stick with you as long as this warning is up. So from Reading to Cornhurst, we are looking at this tornado warning, all of you in place right now. So let's zoom out just a little bit here, get ourselves reset to the warnings that are in place across the area. There's our flash flood warning. This is over the Lehigh Valley, parts of Northampton County. These are areas where 1 to 2 inches of rain have already fallen. Another couple of inches may fall. So flooding in those areas, not too hard to come by because we're so saturated from the rain that happened last week with Ida. Then we have this severe thunderstorm warning over the northern half of Berks County, and then embedded in that warning, you've got your tornado warning in place. So let's go back to our radar picture here and try to track out what it looks like the storm is going to be doing. So I'm just going to draw a little storm tracker for us and pull it on through and get a few names. Now I'm dragging it farther than the actual warning itself, but here's your timeline. Burn, 1040, so really it's moving on top of you right now. Muhlenberg, you've got about 5 minutes, so make sure you're getting down to your basement or your lowest floor. If you do not have a basement, central room is fine. Your basement, a closet, under a stairwell, something like that is your best spot. Lauraldale, that's around 1046 for you, and then Hamden Heights at 1047. Notice once we get out of the tornado warning box, we are looking at times that are closer to 10:50 to 11 o'clock, which is how long a tornado warning is in place. It may need to be extended if the National Weather Service thinks that that rotation is tight enough to continue with it. But the good news is, let me see if I can move forward on our radar here. There's that tight look at the warning again. Remember, the storm between North and South Heidelberg. Here's the look at something we call correlation coefficient, fancy word for a debris tracker. If we see little areas of blue, it can be a sign of some debris. I'm really not seeing much except for this one little dot of blue, so that's a good sign. We're not seeing an obvious signature of debris moving through this area. Again, that does not mean there's not a tornado on the ground. You should treat this event as a tornado on the ground until we know otherwise. And there is a look at that severe warning for tornadic activity, North Heidelberg to South Heidelberg to Kakusing, and then moving all the way up to Reading. And remember, we are looking areas under Wyomissing, all under this warning. So I'm going to step out and let Brittney walk on in and continue to track as I watch our computer data.
That's right. So one thing that we tend to monitor at this time is the National Weather Service chat. So that really helps us stay up to date on exactly what's happening, basically second by second. So as we switch you over and show you our computer source, we want to show you the fact that we have a few tips for you just in case you do hear your neighborhood called. So the first thing is go to a central room or basement. If you live in a high-rise building, we don't think there's any in this particular area, go to a bathroom. But the idea is just to stay away from the window. So oftentimes you want to crank up the TV and head down to the basement. The other thing you could do is download our app so you still have it on your phone. And then if you do not have a basement, try to at least cover your head. So this is all about you staying safe when these severe storms roll through. Big picture is we do have a flash flood warning, we have a severe thunderstorm, and of course we have the tornado warning, which is why we have interrupted programming. So I know sometimes it can be a little annoying, but we want to make sure everyone that lives in this particular area is staying safe tonight. So we have this tornado warning, again, that's going to be in effect until 11 p.m. And what we are going to be seeing here is just we are monitoring the potential for one of these cells producing a tornado. Everything is tracking here to the east, right around 35 miles per hour. And one thing I did want to point out is when we first came on air about 10 minutes ago, Womelsdorf was under the tornado warning, but that has now been relieved. So that has been canceled for that city. So we know that everything is going to continue to track here to the east. Now, the reason why it looks a little strange with the red and green colors is due to the fact that we are tracking the velocity at this time. So we're taking a look at what we call, it's a product we call velocity, and that shows us where the rotating wind speeds are. So that is what we're watching. We look for a coupling. We look for the red and the green coming together. And what that shows us is that there's winds traveling in opposite directions and there's some rotation there. So that was one of the reasons why we did see the National Weather Service issue this. So we're starting to see a little bit here, but it's not incredibly impressive. But this is, again, something that we're watching, and we're also looking at the polygon here. South Heidelberg, you're still included. Reading, you are still included up towards Maiden Creek. So if we put this in motion here, I know you switched that for me, Krystal, thank you. As we start to track this here, so where we think there could potentially be a little bit of that coupling, there's not a city that's popping up here, but it's near 222. So as we look at this and we look towards Maiden Creek and we track it, if you're closer to Solar or Maiden Creek, you have a few more minutes here. So 10:55, you have about 10 minutes to get your safety plan together. But the first thing you want to do is definitely head to a basement or the lowest level in your home. You want to be staying away from all windows. If you're closer to Maiden Creek School, 10:56. If you are let me put the tracker on one more time here. If you are closer to, I'm not sure why that disappeared, but if you're closer to any of these locations, you have about 10 minutes to move. Okay, so let's see. Like I mentioned before, it was Maiden Creek is closer to 10:55. But again, this entire tornado warning here staying in effect until 11 p.m. And one thing we're doing with First Alert Meteorologist Klei is we are monitoring the National Weather Service chat. And Krystal, have we had any additional updates yet from this particular tornado warning?
Yeah, Brittney, so no updates on that particular tornado warning, which is actually a good sign that they haven't extended it. But I will say it's looking like it's coming more embedded in the rain. If you look at the comparison of where the velocity coupling is to what you're circling right now to the deep rain color, it's no longer in the leading edge, which means even more of a reason that you should not be trying to look out the window and just be getting inside so that you can be in your safe zone. I will add, Brittney, that they issued a new flash flood warning over parts of Northampton County all the way till 4:30 in the morning. So yet again, we're running into this issue of the water and the tornadic activity starting to become a problem in our northern neighborhoods.
Right, so again, this tornado warning still staying in effect. So they have continued this. We have at least another almost 15 minutes or so to go where they have identified one of these cells that is capable of producing a tornado. So again, tracking here to the east, we're gonna put it in motion for you, moving to the east at about 35 miles per hour. So it is moving quickly through parts of Berks County. And that rainfall is just coming down on this particular system here. We'll pause it, and you can see the lightning. Where we start to get the magenta, that is a heavy rainfall rate as well. So it's not as easy to identify with our reflectivity. So oftentimes we switch you over into something that's called our velocity mode, and we want to pause that as well. And it starts to look for a coupling potentially, and what we mean by that is the green and the red coming together. And so that's what we're looking for as we continue to monitor this. So again, the best we can tell you is the fact that these particular cities are under this tornado warning until 11 p.m., another 15 minutes or so. for us to continue just to monitor this and make sure everyone's staying safe. So let's go ahead right now and pull up the tips that we have for you, which includes what you need to do if you do find your neighborhood, if you are living in Berks County, you're paying attention and you're listening to us right now, what you should do in the event you hear your neighborhood and you are now under a tornado warning. One of the first things you should be doing is seeking shelter. So hopefully you already have your safety game plan ready to go. You want to seek further information. You want to continue to check back in with us.
They did just drop that tornado warning.
They did drop the tornado warning. So now we return you to your originally scheduled program. So the tornado warning has now been canceled.